All right, everybody. My name is Wrigley Willis of the Semi Average Podcast, and today, our first ever guest on the podcast. I'm joined by Philadelphia aficionado, Arizona State student, great guy, Evan Rieser. Go ahead and give him a little piece real quick.
Hey guys, Wrigley, thanks for having me on. Happy to see you here. Happy to be with you.
Awesome. So, Evan, obviously, you're a massive, massive Eagles guy. I mean, the first day I met you, I coined you Philly.
You did, yeah. The whole building still calls me Philly because of you on day one.
Yeah, it's my leaving grace on Arizona State. But diving straight into it, I want to talk, you talk about big threes in sports with especially the NFL. You got quarterback, head coach, and the ownership or GM, whoever you want to throw in.
Yeah.
Now, with the Eagles, obviously 3 years removed from a Super Bowl run, hell of a team, legendary.
Yeah.
And when the problems arise, they decided to get rid of the head coach first.
Yeah.
Give me your thoughts on, the Peterson firing.
Big mistake.
Yeah.
That's the initial reaction. And listen, I know that Peterson wasn't good this year. The play calling was bad. I think he does have somewhat to do with the regression of Carson Wentz in the last couple of years. There is no denying that.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, I still think he was pigeonholed and his decisions were made by the front office.
Yeah.
Maybe not the game time decisions, but who was playing, how long the leash was on Carson, that all was the front office. And at a point, the front office can't have that much control, especially when your GM isn't a football guy. He never has been. He was an accountant. Now he's into football, and that's why he's been great with contracts.
Yeah.
In Eagles' tenure, he's been great with contracts. But as always, he hasn't been able to recruit, and he hasn't been able to scout, and he hasn't been able to draft. Those are three of the most important things. Listen, I thank Howie.
Right?
Yeah, I thank Howie for the Super Bowl year, but he needed to be the first to go. He needed to. They needed to build talent around Carson because they have no receivers. The line was banged up, and they're getting older. But they continually draft poorly, so they can't get any talent around the guy.
Yeah, and it's right after he got fired. It was said on I don't remember where it was leaked on, but essentially like it was confirmed that he didn't get to make any decisions ever.
Yeah,
like
no.
He was a puppet essentially.
If you saw there was a press conference after the season, the after the season press conference.
Yeah.
And one of the reporters straight up asked, like, "Hey, Doug, were you on board with the Jalen Hurts pick?" And you could see it in his face. He wasn't, right? He kind of stuttered a little bit, and he said, "Yeah, totally." Hesitated, stuttered. Makes you wonder, like, did he have any input in that? Did he have any input in Rager? I honestly, I really believe he didn't.
And, you got a head coach who's proven that he can win on the big stage, and he can make adjustments.
With a backup quarterback.
Yeah.
And outgun the greatest quarterback of all time in the greatest game he's ever played.
And arguably in that game, he outcoached Belichick.
He did.
Yeah.
He straight up did. And when the whole world was saying, kick it on 4th and 1, take the points, and he runs the Philly special.
Yep.
And that takes a coach with guts does that. There's not many coaches in the league that do that. And, like, I'm not a big preacher on Sean Payton. Like, I think Sean Payton's an underachiever in his time in, New Orleans. But, listen, he won a Super Bowl because at halftime he was able to go out there, have the guts to kick the onside kick. And Doug Peterson's that type of dude. Like, he's a leader of men, and his people fight for him.
Yeah.
And at the end of the year, when the ownership was making its decisions of going to Hurts, and then I still think the Sudfeld thing was another ownership decision. And I truly believe that when he lost the locker room, it was too late. But all of that was because of the ownership.
Yeah. So what steps would be needed to take, like, in the future? Like, we're talking with Roseman. If they go Hurts, what's the team going to look like?
So if they go Hurts, I'd be shocked. I really would. I can't see them going that route. But if they did, you have to dump Carson.
Yeah.
And at this point in time, with him not playing well as of late or all year. And the contract he's on, which is one of the worst contracts in football, not going to get more than a third.
If that.
A fourth. So for the second pick of the draft, that was an MVP candidate 3 years ago and was the runaway MVP if he doesn't get hurt, is that worth it?
Not at all. It's like buying and trading assets. You're not getting what you want.
Exactly. And the amount of dead cap on Carson, if you did trade him, is detrimental to the team. And it's not just with Carson. Like, they're tied to almost everybody. Like, even the kicker, they can't cut because he has so much dead cap tied to him. It's insane.
Hell of a leg, though, Jake Elliott.
Yeah, hell of a leg. Not this year, but hell of a leg. But, like, it's stuff like that. Like, the contract guy, the guy who is supposedly so good, and he isn't anymore.
Yeah.
And that's when his stick, the thing he was great at, he just isn't good at anymore, and it's time to let him go.
Yeah. And, you look into that, and it was like, why are there's so many players bought in for the next 4 years, and, they're in their late 20s, early 30s. It's like, what are they looking at? And I think they were kind of got that Super Bowl haze where it's like, oh, we can just be a dynasty for the next couple of years.
Exactly. It's the whole thing of, like, the way you win with a young quarterback in the league. Yeah, I mean, it. When you have a young quarterback on the rookie contract, you bring in veteran talent when you can pay them.
Yeah.
But you bring them all in on a 1 or a 2 year deal, not 4, 5, which is now what they're pigeonholed into.
Yeah. And it's like even in free agency this year, like, what can they even do?
Nothing.
They might have to cut guys just to get just to be able to play football.
Yeah. No, like, they won't pick up. Obviously they might pick up a player, but, like, they don't have, for any notable free agents, they don't have any money.
Yeah. And it's like
guys like Ertz aren't going to be on the team.
Yeah.
Next year. As sad as it is to say, like, Ertz won't be on the team. It's time for him to leave because they're so over the cap that they can't pay anybody.
Yeah. And is Big Fletch up for a new deal soon? Because I don't know if you're going to bring him back.
I think he's got a couple years left.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
But, you look at what Buffalo's done. Allen's still on the rookie deal. Yeah. And they brought in just spend money on John Brown, Cole Beasley, Star Latulele, even though he hasn't been playing. Micah Hyde was a big free agency get for us.
Yeah.
That's what you can do. It opens everything up.
Exactly. And when you're able to do that and you're able to build around him, people will naturally stay when you're a winner. Yeah. And they'll take a pay cut when you're a winner. Like, making a splash deal for Diggs this year was the best move the Bills have made in 10 years, other than drafting Josh Allen.
Yeah.
And, like, the fact that they were able to bring him in, and now him and Josh are boys, when that contract is up, how much of a pay cut or how much money is he willing to push off in the future now that he's on a team with a proven winner at quarterback? And you know what I mean? Like, the possibilities of re-signing a player is much more likely when you bring him in the building.
Yeah, and you look at the quarterback thing, it's like Josh could ask for $220 million, right?
Yeah.
But I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't think he will either.
Yeah. It'll be like 160.
Honestly, like, he hasn't had, like, this year is off the charts good. Like, he's been money. But in the previous 3 years, he's still lacking in turnover, or, like, way over the board in turnovers. And he wasn't great. Like, he was good. He wasn't great.
Yeah.
Now he got over that hump to great. And so 1 year, where do you sign him, right? Like, can you judge that on 1 year, or do you have to wait another, or then you have to pay him more if he is great again? So it's a tough deal there. But
yeah. I'm a big fan of just trusting in your guys, though.
I agree.
But moving on, NFL draft's coming up, and obviously you're sitting at pick 6. The perfect player you want is Heisman, wide receiver.
I've never wanted somebody to be an Eagle more.
Yeah, but now after the great college football championship game, apparently Miami's looking at him at 3.
Yeah, so that's a steal.
Yeah, with last year could have traded up for CeeDee Lamb, could have traded up for Justin Jefferson. Doesn't happen.
Could have just picked Justin Jefferson.
Oh, right. They could have just taken him.
Yeah, and 2 years ago, they take Arcega-Whiteside in front of DK Metcalf.
Stinger.
I have a top 5 receiving core in football, arguably top 3.
Yeah.
and they're sitting here with the worst, maybe 32nd of 32.
So is this like the breaking point? Like you got to trade up for a guy like this?
I don't know if you trade up because I think at 6, there are can't miss players.
Yeah.
The Eagles need a lot. Like one receiver doesn't fix the bill.
Yeah, not at all.
Even though I want a receiver so bad and I want Devontae Smith, are you willing to give up more picks for what you need for your future?
Yeah,
for
like
one player? And for me, I'm not. Like I love Devontae, but let's say the draft works out where Lawrence goes 1, Sewell goes 2, Devontae goes 3. I can't see anybody taking Chase unless Cincinnati takes him at 5.
that won't happen.
But even if that happens, with that possibility, then you're like, Parsons is probably there. So in a scenario where you could get Devontae Smith, Jamar Chase, or Micah Parsons,
It's a win-win-win.
it's a win-win-win. Now, are they going to pick any 3 of them? No, they'll probably take to Surtain, and they'll be stuck in another 5 years of a terrible pick. But it'll be interesting to watch. But I don't think they trade up at all. I think more important than that is what you do in the back half of the draft.
Yeah.
They have 8 picks this year, and if they can get some of the other ones, I just don't think it's worth trading up right now.
Yeah, and there's some, especially on defense. Yeah. Like your linebacking core this year was, let's just say, not the greatest.
Might as well have been me and you for the first half of the season, really.
Right?
Like it wouldn't have mattered if it was me or you. And they need a linebacker. They need a safety. They need anybody in the secondary that can play football. It's insane.
Yeah, an outside corner instead of just a bunch of nickel guys.
Exactly. They don't have a player in the secondary that's taller than 5'9".
There's no way that's correct. You serious?
That is correct.
Good job, Roseman.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
And the poor, like, you go out and you sign a big free agent, right? Like you brought in Darius Slay, which honestly was a good move. Like he wasn't loved. Like he didn't play great, but he played pretty well. But when you look at, he had a stretch this year where in back, 6 straight games, he covered DK, DeAndre Hopkins, Devontae Adams, Michael Thomas, Terry McLaurin, like murderer's row.
Yeah.
For like 7 straight weeks he had. It was insane.
I mean, and the thing is like going into the season too, people were still expecting Philly to be like, go 10-6, and bringing Darius Slay at the time was so, yeah. That was like the move that everyone's like, oh, Philly's going to be back
and
again.
even like the first half of the first game, if you watch the first quarter and a half, Carson couldn't miss. They were up 17-0 early.
Yeah.
And then they get into it. Carson throws a pick that allows them to score right before the half, and everything falls apart from there on. Wrigley, I told you at the end of game 1, do you remember I came into that 10th floor common room and I said the Eagles are a 4-win football team?
You called it from the very start. And I said the Bills would be in the AFC Championship game, and everyone thought I was nuts.
Yeah.
Look at us.
Look at us go.
But you look into what Philly has for the future, spinning off a little bit. The pieces, you look away from Wentz and Hurts for a little bit. Why? It seems like they don't trust in Boobie Sanders.
Well,
and they don't give him the rock.
No doubt about it. He needs to touch the ball more. But I will defend the not trusting in him. He does have a fumbling problem.
Yeah.
And I do think the only way to fix that is to give him more carries. So it is important when your team is irrelevant, which they were I know they were always in the playoff picture or in the hunt, as the graphic says, but they were never really in the hunt.
Yeah, no.
So at that point, throw away the fumbling issue. The only way to get him better is to get him more touches.
Yeah.
In an NFL game. And if you want to fix the fumbling, That's something that's really coachable. Like Adrian Peterson came into the league with a major fumbling issue. It was fixed, and he goes on to be a great running back of the last 20, 30 years, right? So I think it's fixable. But I do see, like, when the game's on the line, do you really trust him? I think you should. He's not going to get better if you don't.
Yeah. And it's a confidence thing.
Yeah, and other than him, like, what young pieces do they have?
I mean, you look at the receiver room. Is Fulham in the future plans? We don't even know that.
Well, he didn't, like, why wouldn't he touch like, were they really thinking they got more value out of Alshon Jeffrey on the field than Travis Fulgham this year?
I think it's like the Super Bowl haze, man, clinging on to 3 years ago when, Alshon was unguardable, right?
Yeah, but like, how can you not see that at this point in time, he's on his way out the door?
Yeah.
It's time for him to go. And that leaves you the opportunity to develop a young guy who showed some really great promise, some really great talent this year that you're excited about. A guy that you didn't see. It was an undrafted free or drafted cut. You picked him up, right? Like,
yeah.
You have an opportunity, and they're throwing it away because they won't give him touches.
Yeah, and he's that possession guy you were talking about earlier too.
Yeah, exactly. He plays like Alshon, and he's fast. So, like, I know his hands aren't as sure as Alshon's right now, and like he had some bad drops this year, but it's gonna come with time. Like you got to keep feeding them the rock.
Yeah, I mean, you look in the playoffs over the weekend. How many times did like Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt and Devin Singletary just drops everywhere? The young guys.
Yeah.
Just gotta trust them.
I mean, that's for the Bills. It's 2 weeks in a row where a rookie running back has had big drops in big moments of the game. Right? Jonathan Taylor had a walk-in score last week that he drops, and Dobbins had one this week.
Yeah.
Not that those give either team a win. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying, like, those were game-changing plays that weren't made.
Yeah, well, if you remember early in the Ravens game too, Gabe Davis, it just slips right through his hands.
Yeah.
Easy touchdown, established the momentum, and it's just not there because of the drop.
Yeah, and drops are a key point, but T.O. had 6 drops in a playoff game. He was the one open. They throw it to him and you win the game.
Yeah.
You can't let a drop dictate how the rest of the game is played. You can't.
Yeah, it's a good point.
So.
But spinning into it, I want to get like you're just full, no biasy, just what you think would be the best for the future between Wentz and Hurts, and who's the guy?
It's Wentz. I think they need to bring in a guy like Bieniemy. I know they really liked McDaniels in their interview. I think he could help the quarterback. Somebody that is proven to work well with quarterbacks, has seen success in the league. Bring them in. You need to develop Carson. It's the most important job right now. Listen, when he came in and when he was a starter, Hurts was the 32nd ranked starter out of 32.
He had one good game, though. He had one good game.
Yeah, but like 32nd ranked. And like, let's not sugarcoat this. If the Saints play Jameis, that isn't even a game.
No.
The Saints win by 25.
But he had that one. I mean, the trick play was awesome, by the way.
But yeah, Jameis threw the best football of the game.
Yeah,
last night.
Straight up.
But if they play Jameis, they win that game, and you're not talking about Hurts.
Yeah.
And it's just like, okay, like we saw what we got. Like, he can run. But at the end of the day, like, he was just doing the same things Carson was, which makes me believe it's not Carson.
Yeah. That's spicy. I like that.
So at the end of the day, he wasn't looking downfield, and he was trying to do too much. So how much of it is actually Carson? How much of it is the coach? How much of that is the ownership on top of the coach? It's a snowball effect in the locker room. So at that point, you go with the guy that almost won the MVP, the guy that won you the division 2 years, right?
Yeah.
The guy who was on fire at the end of last year. And even though division games against bad teams, with a team that was hurt, beat up, me and you at receiver. He put him in the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
So you go with that guy. At the end of the day, it's just like I said, well, 2 years ago when they had this controversy of like, who do you go with? The answer to that question was Foles.
Really?
You go with the guy that fits the system more. Like, I know Carson has more talent, but who has more talent, Rodgers or Brady? Who's more successful?
Brady. Yeah.
He's had more success in the league. We've seen what Nick can do in an offense where he fits the system, right?
And we can see what he does when he doesn't fit the system, like
Yeah,
with Chicago this
exactly. But in the biggest games he's ever played, he's been spot on money.
year.
And at the end of the day, you go with the guy who won you the Super Bowl, who put you in the playoffs the following year. And Wrigley, they should have been in the Super Bowl the next year too.
Mhm. Yeah,
He
definitely.
goes 92 yards from the 8-yard line to beat the Bears. Like, I know, obviously, the double doink, like Bears should have won, but the 2-point conversion should have counted too, but whatever.
Yeah.
Before that. But he goes 92 yards to beat the Bears on what was considered the best defense in football that year, and maybe one of the best defenses we've seen in the last 10 years.
I mean, that defense was electric.
Electric factory.
Yeah.
The next game, they go into New Orleans and they jump on them. They go up 14-0. And if Alshon Jeffrey makes that catch on that slant for that first down, you can't tell me that they don't score.
Yeah, and then that you guys become a team in football history.
Yeah.
And now you're looking at a team, hypothetically, if Alshon catches that, where are you now?
Where are you now? You're with Foles. You at that if you say, like, if Foles wins that divisional game,
right,
and they go into the NFC Championship, I think they blow the doors off the Rams that year.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Like, I think they would have blown the doors off the Rams, and I think they're back in the Super Bowl. And I don't know if they win that game. I truly believe they would have, just because. But Brady going against the Eagles twice, like, hard to beat him once, harder to beat him twice.
Almost impossible.
Yeah. But if there's anybody that's a Brady killer, it's Nick Foles. But at that point, even if he wins you another NFC championship, he's won you a Super Bowl and an NFC championship in 2 years. Where do you go from there? At that point, you go with Nick.
Yeah, you got to. And Foles is probably playing for a different franchise.
Exactly. And at that point, Wentz's value is so high that you get a first.
Yeah.
Maybe a first and a second. Which is
even going into this year, before week 1, if hypothetically you were to trade Wentz and where the Eagles were at,
you get a first and a second.
Easy. No doubt.
Yeah.
But now,
insane.
Yeah. But so we know, Wentz should be the guy. Head coaching wise, I heard you say Bieniemy and McDaniels were in the running so far.
Yeah.
I've heard small tremblings about Dable, especially since the Chargers didn't hire him.
I think the Chargers not hiring Dable was a mistake.
Yeah.
But I think that opens the door for the Eagles.
Yeah, because what other head coaching spots are left at this point?
Because closing jobs are closing.
Yeah.
And the Eagles is still open. And listen, I know the front office makes this job really, really not exciting. Really not entertaining. But if you can deal with 1 year playing atrocious football, with a quarterback you think you can develop, how is this not job a little bit attractive? Like, at that point, you have a proven winner. Yeah. You have a proven winner at quarterback, which is the hardest thing to get in the league. And at that point, you're talking about if they fire the front office and get rid of Howie, the whole organization is turned around.
Yeah, sign me up. So in that regard, would you say Houston or Philadelphia is more attractive for a
Philadelphia?
Right now? Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, just because also I think the market in Philadelphia is bigger.
Yeah, that's a good point, and especially with everything that's going on with Watson right now.
Yeah, there's too much. Like, there's tension in the Eagles locker room, but that is worse.
So much worse. I mean, JJ Watt is like. Nobody wants to win. It's almost like,
Watson's out. It's really a shame.
Yeah. They're going to be it's like the Texans were one of the most exciting teams, and now they're going to go to being 4-12 every year again.
I know. It's sad, right? They were up 24-0 on the Chiefs a year ago. They were this close to playing for the AFC Championship.
Yeah.
This close.
There's so many what ifs with that. Like if somehow they, Patrick Mahomes doesn't go God mode and win that game,
Yeah.
what is Houston looking like now?
Does Houston go to the Super Bowl?
Oh, I've never even thought of that.
Do they beat Tennessee?
Yeah, I think they beat Tennessee because in the regular season last year, they beat Tennessee both times, right?
Yeah.
Or they split maybe.
Let me look that up.
Okay, good moves. But yeah, you're playing against a team that you know the scheme against. I mean, so does Tennessee on the other side. But Houston's coming in.
That would have been a fun AFC Championship.
Yeah, definitely. Texans Super Bowl. We were that close to it. And now look at them. What a difference a year makes.
Is that insane? Like they were knocking on the door of a Super Bowl.
And now everyone wants to leave.
And now everybody's out.
Yeah.
And that's the Bill O'Brien effect, right? He did a terrible job, but that's the front office with the lack of accountability.
Well, I mean, O'Brien should have never been the GM from the start.
Yeah. Officially, they.
Because I remember there was like a Week 14 game where Houston beat Tennessee, I think.
Yeah, they beat the Titans. Or no, they split. The Titans blew the doors off them the second time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, 35-14 in the second game.
Oh, yikes. But yeah, that's so – I love the NFL what-ifs. It's even more so than basketball ones because it's like, you're up 24-0. How do you blow that game? Yeah, it's one game, and it could be Super Bowl wins, dynasty set up. You still have Deshaun Watson for the next 8-10 years, right?
And you lost a franchise quarterback who's considered a slam dunk top 10, top 5 quarterback in the league.
In terms of pure talent, absolutely.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
So, one game.
We love the NFL.
Yeah, you got to love it.
Yeah. All right, Ev. But that's going to be all the time we got today. I want to thank you for coming on, being the first guest ever.
Wrigley, I'm so happy. I'm so honored that you had me on and I was able to be the first guest.
Yeah.
Can't wait to listen to this episode. Listen to the other ones. They're great. Sounds great. You're doing great. I'm glad to see you're doing well and can't wait to talk to you soon, man.
Thanks, buddy. All right. And shout out to the Vince Papale jersey real quick.
Hey, there it is.
It's a real Eagles guy here.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Wrigley. I'll see you.
Take care, Ev. Thanks for coming on.
Of course.